Hi everyone, and welcome to day 1 of our VATA balancing program. Now Vata represents space, ether, and air in our body. So it constitutes the lightest qualities in nature and in our being. When Vata is out of balance, when there's too much lightness, we need to bring the opposite qualities into our being in order to find balance. Yoga can be a beautiful tool for this, to bring in more grounded, steady, and slow qualities into our being. We're going to focus on that in our practice, and I will give you different tools and guidelines on how to do this and how to make some adjustment to balance specifically Vata. An important part of our practice is the Ujjayi breath. The breathing is very closely linked to the energetic flow. So Vata, representing the air element, being very closely linked to the energetic movement as well. When this increases, we can use the breath, slow and conscious breathing, to also help bring stability into the energetic flow throughout our body. If you are unfamiliar with Ujjayi breath, I would recommend you to go to that video where I go a little bit more in depth on how to practice this. All right, so let's start in a nice and seated position. You can elevate your seat sitting on a meditation cushion or just a regular pillow if you have that at home. And make sure as we start here that we feel rooted and grounded in our seat. Preferably your knees are in line with your hips or slightly below. We're going to use a blanket as well in the practice to work a little bit with warmth. Vata, being cool, is very balanced from warmth. So take a blanket and wrap that around the low belly and low back, nice and tight. Then place your left hand into the right, this mudra, to help us connect to our consciousness. See if you can then close your eyes. And let's take a moment here to root down, settle into the space. Start to notice the flow of your breath. Begin to just become aware of how the breath is moving. And then see if you can start to apply the Ujjayi breath here, contracting at the back of the throat and deepening the breath a little bit more. If you're new to Ujjayi breathing, as I mentioned in that introduction video, you might start with practicing the exhalation and just taking a normal deep breath in. Slow down the breath and see if you can lengthen the breath up to 3-4 seconds. You might even feel comfortable breathing up to 5 seconds. Inhale and exhale. And find an even pace that feels good for you. Notice now as we begin to breathe Ujjayi that naturally our mind becomes more focused, more present. Notice the calm settling in, a sense of stability settling into your body and your mind. Continue to observe this breath. Bring your hands in front of the heart space. You can stay with the Ujjayi breathing, thumbs connecting to the sternum, hands slightly tilting forward. And let's place an intention for this practice. Your intention might be to find more stability, root yourself down, grounding your whole being. Something which supports this process of balancing Vata. Feel that intention rooting down a little more into the heart space with every inhalation. Good. Now take a full exhalation out. And with your inhalation, float the arms now to the sides. Just circle them all the way up overhead. Hold here. Keep reaching up through the fingers. Feel that you're lengthening out the sides of your body. Take one more inhale here. With your exhalation, you're going to lower down the right hand to the ground. Let the left arm follow and come into a side bend. Inhale into the side body. Exhale, hold the position. Inhale, come all the way back up. Exhale, lower the left hand down, leaning over to the side. Root into the hand, inhale. And exhale, stay in the side bend. Good. Inhale, slowly press back up to center. Exhale, hands right in front of the heart space. Take your blanket now. See if you can fold that so we can use it throughout the practice. Lower down from your seat and sit on your blanket instead. Now you can change the crossing of your feet. If you need to stretch them out for a moment, then please do so. We're gonna inhale, sweep the arms back up overhead. Exhale, see if you can hinge from the hips. Keep your hips nice and rooted. Stay with the breath here and slowly lower those hands down. Your sit bones are still rooted into the blanket. Take another deep breath in. With your exhalation, you might fall a little deeper. Root into your hands, spread those fingers nice and wide, and feel that there's a sense of connection. All the way into each and every finger, into your palms. And if it feels good for you, you can drop your head a little bit forward. Now I'm going quite far into this forward fold. Some of you might be here. Wherever it feels good for your spine, stay there and take a few more breaths, just creating a bit of a compression here into the low belly, some length through the spine. Stay with the Ujjayi breath. All these forward folds are very calming for the nervous system, very calming for Vata. Great. Now we're going to slowly come to seated. Either walk your hands back and take your knees to the side, or you could also transition like this, rocking forward onto your hands and knees. Take that blanket away for now. Make sure that the knees are hip width apart. Root into your hands once more. This is very important, this connection into the hands, into the feet. With our inhalation, we're going to gently drop the belly, starting nice and slow. With our exhalation, rounding our whole spine. Good. So inhale, dropping the belly here, coming in to cow pose, and with our exhalation, we round our spine. A few more times like this, inhaling, and you can gradually increase the movement. Exhale, rounding the spine. Breathing in. Exhale out. Good. Come to a neutral position. Start to create some gentle circles, just going clockwise here. And feel that you're creating some nice fluid motion into the hips, into the hip joints, into the wrists, just warming things up a little bit. And then switch directions, start to circle the other way. Just going around. Stay with the Ujjayi breath. You can allow this to be your red thread in the practice, learning how to focus our mind. This is really a muscle in our brain that we have to practice, how to be present. Good, now come back to center. Find the stability here and see if you can now stretch back through the right leg. You're going to press into the heel, flexing the foot, toes pointing down to the ground, and draw those ribs slightly in, engaging the core. And now find the balance here. Extend the left arm forward. Good, again, rooting down into that right hand, building up the sense of stability through our body, breathing, and lower. Left hand down, right knee to the ground. Let's do that on the other side. Extend the left leg back, press into the heel, toes pointing down, reach the right arm forward. Tuck the ribs in. Feel that you're keeping your body nice and straight. Neck is long, we're looking down towards the ground. One more inhale. With the exhalation, lower. Beautiful, everyone. Let's take the knees slightly wider apart. Sit down, child's pose. And notice now in child's pose how we can just lengthen out our whole spine. Dropping back towards the heels, relax into the arms, and breathe here. Slow, steady breaths. Practice the Ujjayi breathing, guiding your mind back to the present moment. Notice the fluctuations happening there, this habit of pulling to future thoughts or past events, and see if you can explore this present awareness. Good, now from here, we're going to look forward and lift ourselves back up onto our hands and knees. Take the knees a little closer together. Let's come into our first downward facing dog. Now in downward dog, again, spread the fingers nice and wide. Turn the inner part of your arms a little more forward. So there's an external rotation happening here. We tuck the toes in and we're going to lift those knees up. And we lengthen up and back through our spine. Having about 2 fists in between your feet, looking back towards the feet. And most of you we'll want to bend your knees here slightly. So from your hands to the tailbone, our goal is to have one straight line. There's no roundedness happening through the spine. We keep it nice and straight. Notice if you straighten out the legs, you might compensate this alignment, and you're going to have to round the back. The weight will be more into the wrist, into the shoulders, and you will create some tension there. We don't want to create tension, so please bend the knees. Focus on lengthening through the arms, through the spine. Nice and stable here, rooting into those feet, into the hands. One more inhale. With your exhale, lower the knees slowly down. Untuck your toes and sit back. If it feels good for you, you can take your knees a little wider apart. Otherwise, keep them hip width here. And just notice that feeling of melting the belly, melting the chest onto the upper thighs. You can also explore child's pose with your arms back. Coming into this little ball shape can be very soothing, very relaxing for Vata. Breathing nice and deep. Take a few more breaths here. Relax into the wrists, relax into the shoulders. Great. Now we're going to extend the arms forward, reaching through the fingers. Lift your head up, and we're going to round our back as we lift ourselves up, so just like cat pose. Then shift your hips a little bit forward. So come into the alignment of a modified push-up, and then we're going to bend the arms here. Keep those elbows pointing straight back as we slowly lower ourselves down with control. Now fingers at the nipple line. We're going to reach back through the toes. So activate your quads here. You're lifting those knees slightly from the ground. Start to activate the back muscles as we now gently press into the hands. Coming into baby cobra, so just a slight back bend here. Looking a little bit to the front, inhale. And with your exhalation, lower the chest down. Good, so we're gonna do that a few more times. Inhale, lift up, move with your breath. Exhale and lower. Inhale into your breath. Keep lengthening back through the legs. Exhale out. From here, hands underneath the forehead. Bend the legs. Sway your feet. Nice and calm from right to left. Swaying a little bit into those hips. A nice soft rotation there. Good. From here, extend your legs back. Take your hands underneath the shoulders. Press up using your knees. And let's from here come back to our downward dog. Again, bend the knees a little bit. Press into your hands. Feel that you're connecting that space underneath your index finger as well. You can feel the subtle lift and lengthening happening through the spine. And notice as you try to establish that, if you have a tendency to now lift up through the heels, try to relax your feet. Think of it this way. There's an upward movement from your hands going all the way up to the tailbone. But from your tailbone down to the heels, there is a downward movement. So you want to drive those heels down towards the ground. They don't have to touch. Let go of that idea, but keep your heels heavy and drive them down. One more inhale here. With your exhalation, lower your knees down. Sit back, child's pose. If you enjoy the arms alongside the body, you can do that. And another nice little trick is to keep a nice heavy weight onto the low back. You can use a meditation cushion or a regular pillow for that, or a heavy blanket would also work. And just notice how that feels. So, one of the main seats of Vata in our body is around the low back and the low belly. So we can notice when Vata is out of balance, there might be some low back pain or blockages in the low belly. There can be some constipation, or for women, some menstruation pain. And having some weight and warmth onto this region is very soothing, helps to ground the lightness of Vata. Breathe down to that pillow, practicing your Ujjayi breaths here. Take one more deep breath in. Exhale out. Take your pillow to the side. Let's lift back up. Come to seated on your heels. And we will come to seated on our mat. Now from here, you can use that blanket again to sit on the edge of your blanket. This is helpful, especially if you notice that we're rounding the spine. If you can sit upright without a blanket, you're more than welcome to just sit on the ground. Let's flex our feet. Float the arms up here. Inhaling. Back nice and straight. With our exhalation, fold from the hips, forward and down. Maybe your hands end up here or a little more forward. Now in our forward fold, we want to feel that we're hugging the femur bone in and we're reaching the chest forward. So we're moving energetically in two different directions. Synchronize with your breath now. Inhale, feel your body naturally expanding, widening. And with your exhale, maybe you go slightly deeper. Inhale. Exhale. If you can walk your hands a little more forward, then do that. Breathe in. Exhale out. Nice and slow breaths in. Exhale. With your next inhalation, come all the way up. See if you can float those arms up, using your abdominal muscles, your back muscles to lift. Exhale, hands in front of the heart. Great. Let's shift our hips forward. Move that blanket to the side, round the back, and grab a hold of your knees. Lower gently to the ground. Arrive here, knees into the chest, and just hold for a moment. Feel the gentle compression happening here at the low belly. Again, very balancing to create that compression there to help balance Vata. And then lift your head up towards your knees and create a little squeeze. Just squeeze your thighs a little bit closer into the belly. Hold here. Stay with the Ujjayi breath. One more deep inhale. With your exhalation, lower all the way down. Good. Take your feet down to the ground. Walk those feet a little bit back. See if your fingers can touch the heels. And keep them hip width apart. We're going to tuck the tailbone under, so press the low back down to the ground. Keep those feet nice and rooted now. As we begin to activate the legs, lift your hips up. Let's focus more on the strength and stability of the legs rather than lifting super high. So I want you to really find the center point of your feet. Notice if you have a tendency of rotating your knees outwards or in. Try to find the center point. Feel that your legs are nice and strong now. Spread the toes a little bit wider, and your fingers are just reaching down to the heels. Breathe here. And then take one more deep inhale. With your exhalation, just slowly roll now along the spine. So tuck your tailbone under as you nice and gently release your back down to the ground. Super nice. So take those feet a little wider. We're just going to create a couple of soft windshield wipers here. Similar to when we were on the belly, just sway those knees from right to left. Release your back a little bit. Good. Alright, let's come into Shavasana now. You can place a blanket over your body. Again, warmth is very therapeutic for Vata, and a nice weight onto the low belly. Spread the feet a little bit wider, relax the arms alongside your body, and just let yourself go here fully in Shavasana. Especially for Vata, Shavasana is incredibly important at the end of the practice, that we take this time to just relax, to embrace the experience. And also here we try to stay in this meditative space. So if you notice that the mind is wandering, use the awareness of your breath that you have already established. However, at this point, I want you to let go of the ujjayi breathing. So here, the breath is just normal and soft again. But you can still observe just the rising and the falling, the movements as you breathe. Letting yourself go. wiggle your fingers and toes, circulating around the wrist and the ankles. Taking your time to come out of Shavasana, feeling that there is no rush. If it feels good, you might stretch out your body. Turning over to the side. And coming slowly back up to seated. Bring your hands together in front of the heart as you arrive here. And feeling some appreciation for taking the time today to balance the ether and air elements in your body, Vata dosha, and for completing day 1 of our program. Let's bow down over the heart. Namaste. I'm sure you can feel the grounding and stabilizing qualities from this practice. Allow it to nourish and guide you through the rest of the day, and I'll see you tomorrow for day 2.